my honor to introduce our next speaker, Kwesi Millington. Kwesi Millington is a Toastmaster from 2014. He's an Advanced Communicator Silver and Advanced Leader Bronze in Toastmaster. Kwesi is a speaker, certified public speaking coach, and a confidence coach. Kwesi has won various awards at club level, area level, and division level in Toastmasters. Kwesi is also health coach and a nutrition expert. Let's welcome Kwesi Millington, the power of your past, Kwesi Millington.
Toastmasters, and honored guests. Can you remember a time when you failed? Slats. Raise your hand if you could remember such a time from back in your childhood. Now, isn't it funny that we can remember every finite detail of our failures, no matter how long ago they happened? Well, come back with me to 1982. I was 6 years old. Don't do the math, I'm 39. The setting was Mrs. K's homeroom class. Tension was thick in the air because out of a room of 20 students, we were down to the final two for the yearly class spelling bee. The prize, a pack of coveted pencil crayons. Now in this corner we had Sweet Sarah. Now for those of you who don't know, there are two main types of student in every classroom. There are the leaders and the loafers. Leaders show up to class early. Loafers, late, if not on time. Leaders sit at the front of the classroom. Where do loafers sit? Back. Raise your hand if you knew a leader in school. Raise your hand if you knew a loafer. Raise your hand if you were somewhere in between the two. Well, Sweet Sarah, she was a leader. Perfectly petite, perfectly dressed, perfect little pigtails. If Mrs. K would ask a question in class, Sweet Sarah's hand would always shoot up. Miss, I know the answer. Who do you think the loafer was in the classroom? You. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I was the loafer in the classroom. If Mrs. K would ask a question, my hand would shoot up and I would say, I believe Sarah knows the answer. However, even though I was a loafer in school, there was one area where I excelled. I could spell. And today's final word was the word always. So I looked at Mrs. K, proud as a peacock, walked to the front of the class. Spell that word. Always. A-L-L-W-A-Y-S. Always. No? See, the look on some of your faces matched the 40 eyeballs that were staring at me as Mrs. K looked down from above her glasses and said, I'm sorry, Kwesi. Always is spelled A-L-W-A-Y-S. Sweet Sarah won the competition, and I was devastated. I was embarrassed. And have you ever heard the phrase about wanting to crawl back into a hole? Well, for years I did just that. In fact, for over 30 years I was handcuffed by my past. I fell victim to a voice, and you may have heard the voice before too. It's called the remember when voice. Have you ever wanted to do something and then you talked you out of it? Have you ever thought about your failures in the past and it stopped you from reaching forward to the future? Well, that remember when voice was handcuffing me to the past. I would think about reaching forward, and that voice would say, Kwesi, remember when you messed up in that relationship? I would think about taking a chance, and that voice would say, Kwesi, remember when you got fired from that job? I would think about risking, and that voice would say, Kwesi, do you remember when you messed up that simple word in grade 1? Have you ever let something in your past stop you from reaching forward to your future? The only reason that I can stand in front of you today, the why my past no longer has power over me, is because I listened to a man speak one day, and I'll never forget the words that he said. He said, the only limit to your impact is your imagination. And the day I heard Tony Robbins say those words, my meaning of remember when was forever changed. Mr. Robbins taught me to take my past successes, turn the power of focus onto my successes, not my failures. He taught me to take my past, turn it from my worst enemy to my best friend. He taught me what I call the core principle. And I want you to remember this. C stands for close your eyes. Don't do it now. But think about a time when you were on top of the world and your confidence was soaring. O stands for go over everything. Who was there and what was happening? R, and this is the important one, remember the feeling. How did you feel? Encouraged, empowered, and E is for engage all the senses. What were the sights, sounds, and smells? If you could sum that up into one power word or phrase, what would it be? I encourage you to do this exercise and write down that word or phrase on a card and carry it with you. I've tried it and I've discovered that you can create confidence whenever you need it. So if you're a guest in this room and you're thinking about joining, if you're a seasoned Toastmaster and confidence is a struggle for you, remember your power phrase and carry it with you. ALL, WAYS. Always. Awesome.